Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Node Working Group session. We'll start out today with a preamble, and then we'll go through some updates from our ecosystem partner, O1 Labs. And after that, we'll go through any items on the agenda. Or if you have anything you'd like to talk about, please just shout it out. That should be fine too. Here's the preamble. So the Node Working Group sessions are a time when members come together to discuss and collaborate with ecosystem partners and the Mina Foundation. Topics discussed generally include the latest releases, operations, and other technical matters, protocol, to the discretion of the Node Working Group. My name is John Robinson, and I'm the community manager at the Mina Foundation. Here to support and facilitate these sessions. So if there's anything you'd like to do in particular, please just let me know and we can try and arrange that. If you have any questions during the session, please raise your hand using the button down the bottom of your screen. Also able to just shout out your questions too if there's possibility for that. The meeting will be recorded today and we're posting these on YouTube so the wider community can see what we're doing and effort to increase transparency. So thank you for everyone for coming today. We've got quite a big group change, which is very nice. And we'll start off today with Andrew, our ecosystem partner from O1 Labs. Andrew, do you have any updates you'd like to share?
Yeah, I have a few. As many of you know, the 1.3.1 release has now been upgraded to stable. It's identical to the previous 1.3.1 beta 1. So many of you should be running one of those versions. Yeah, please upgrade at your earliest convenience. And I would love to hear any thoughts in this meeting about how the experience with 1.3.1 has been for folks. Another meaningful note is that we're building towards 1.3.2, which may be a little bit slower because we're trying to just get any of the changes that engineers or anyone on our team is sort of concerned about, and sort of delay the release accordingly, and so we can get all of those changes in and all of those changes ready for you all as 1.3.2. And then a lot of our team's work is going to be focused on all of the forward-looking stuff, Berkeley and the hard fork and beyond. Yeah, so that's the big report that 1.3.1 is out. 1.3.2 will probably be the last 1.0 release, barring any major bugs or hotfixes that we need to come back and address. Yeah, that's the plan.
Oh, great. Thanks a lot for that, Andrew. Do we have any questions on that? I see in the chat.
Is there any specific sort of important things that are going in targeted for 1.3.2 to keep an eye out for, or just anything special?
Yeah, we have one set of. I mean, I think there's going to be a bunch of small stuff in practice. Not necessarily things that you're going to notice on the usability end. But a couple things that you will notice, like we're making changes to our logging so that there's a lot of like really long log lines that occasionally make Docker and Kubernetes and other environments where you can run the daemon unhappy. So we're working on addressing a lot of that and splitting those lines up and sort of making the logs more consistent. So that change will definitely be coming in, and various, just various improvements around the stack that won't necessarily change your user experience.
Thanks.
For my curiosity there, Andrew, do you have a way there like to track down how many users running block production are running a certain version in comparison with the old ones and stuff? Or you are like not really able to check that out?
We're able to get more of that information now because of the node status collection system. So if you enable node status, we will be able to know what version that node is running. and be able to track those. But that's an opt-in sort of interface, and that's how we would prefer that it is kept. So no, otherwise we don't really have a good breakdown, across the network of how much people are running.
And Andrew, could you explain a bit more about that and possibly how people can opt in or where they can find information on how to opt into that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me at least find the release notes where it came up originally, so that
It's,
I know there was a little thing.
it's just a startup flag that you can use.
Yes, it's another flag, node status URL, and then you have to provide the correct URL, and we have a cleaner way to set it up as well. Let me see.
So anyone out there watching the recording, they'll be able to help send in stats like that through the method that Andrew's describing now, and that will greatly help the developers developing code.
Yes, basically this interface will give us a regular sort of ping, a regular push of information about, what block you're currently looking at as the best tip, what version of the software you're running, and other little statistics like that to help us keep track of how well the network is running at any given time.
Any information that people with privacy concerns would be.
I believe the IP address is the only thing that we were sort of worried about in that regard, and I don't think we provide public keys. So it's really not about tracking your key or your funds or anything like that. We're just trying to track that node and the software that it's running. So yeah.
And how would that benefit you? How would you be able to use that information?
Well, the biggest thing is that we have trouble sort of detecting issues with the network that don't occur on our nodes, like that don't occur on our seed nodes or on our very specific little view of the network where our infrastructure runs. So the node status collection allows us to really get a sample of the larger community's nodes and however they're distributed and however you all are running them, and all of the different ways in which your environments are different than ours. And then we'll still be able to get some sort of visibility into how your nodes are running differently than our nodes. So for example, if they're many blocks behind on the best tip, then we would be able to actually see that. And then we could see that, 50 nodes or some large chunk of the network is having trouble staying connected. That would be a sign that something's wrong, even if it's not occurring on our, on our infrastructure.
Yeah, that would be very useful. And maybe that's something we could post in the channels, like of producers or something, instructions on how to set.
Yeah, we'll circle back with another announcement. I think it's all in a good shape to be published, but we should publish it more widely and more consistently.
Great, thanks so much. Does anyone have any questions? Any further questions? Thanks, Jonathan. Jonathan just posted some information for Christine and Jean. Does anyone have any other questions for Andrew on the releases? Thanks for that, Andrew. Thanks a lot. Next up, we have Prithvi for our ecosystem partner One Labs 2. Prithvi.
Hey folks, I will give me 1 second. Do you guys mind if I present the triage board? I know we're presenting the meeting minutes right now.
Please do. I'll just share. Should be good to go. And so what Prithvi is going to show is the no triage board with current issues we've been working on with the no working group.
Okay. I hope you guys can see the screen. Just a quick overview. We went over this last week as well. There have not been any significant updates in our issues in our low priority column, apart from including this issue, which is with respect to some of the discussions that we had previously in a node working group about the snark work inclusion rate. And so Nathan had created this issue some time ago, and I think this was mentioned in the Google document. So I added this at the top of our low priority column. And so, as I mentioned, I mean, there's not really been any significant progress. I think, you know, we're deferring some of this work to you know, deliver some of the things that we need for the incentivized testnet. And so if there is any change in status, you know, I'll be updating these tickets and letting you guys know. Apart from that, there are two issues that are still in the needs triage column. The first one, you know, I've responded to this community member and tried to see if they still see this issue, and I'll ping them once more. But I'd like to ask any of you guys: are you seeing any of this restart issue with the latest releases? And we have the new stable release that's also out. So I'd like to hear from you guys if you're seeing this in your instances at all.
Not here, no.
I saw it in alpha, but haven't seen it in 3.0 beta or since then.
Okay, yeah. So you know, I'll reply to Mitrik and see if there's anything, any logs that he can share. But if you guys aren't seeing it in your in the newer beta and stable releases, then it might be something that's specific to his environment. And if you can provide us logs that allow us to reproduce it, that would be great. If not, there's not really much more investigation that we can do really without that information. So for now, that's kept in the needs triage section. This one is, I think somebody raised a hand. Yeah, No, it is important, and we have done investigation into this. And as you mentioned, and I think you've already seen this in the ticket, like we're planning to revive the PR. Right
Yeah, I
now,
saw that.
there's just competing interests in terms of priority of like getting some of the features that we want to deliver for zcaps ready.
Yeah, I understand that.
And so it's just a little bit of a trade-off. So we're kind of in a crunch mode right now, and we're definitely going to try to address this as soon as possible. But for now, it's just one of those trade-offs that we've had to make internally. And I'll bring this up with the team again, and I can provide you another status update next week. But before then, you know, I'll try to see if there's anything that we can provide in the GitHub issue itself.
Yeah, and
but
I'm not pushing for it to go, you know, to make it a priority. I you know, maybe people that understand it better, I just want to make sure you're thinking about the impact it's having on the snark marketplace and whether or not that'll show up in test nets and other things. Like I don't know that it's worthy of higher priority, but wanted to mention it.
No, you're right. And we're evaluating some of the things that we need for, you know, I mean, as you guys know, we're having an incentivized testnet coming up, and eventually all these changes will land on mainnet, right? So in that time period, as we get to that time period, we're trying to evaluate all the things that we absolutely need in that release. And so this will be one of those items. And so we'll definitely give it the careful consideration it deserves. But Yeah, thanks for mentioning it on the Google Doc. I also want to call out to anybody else, like if there are issues that you feel like we need to discuss as a community and need to be represented here on the board, that's one way to do it. You can add into the Google Doc of the meeting minutes here, or let me know on Discord, or post in any of the channels, and we'll make sure to at least talk about it a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. No other. I mean, ultimately, it's if you guys haven't really seen many issues with the latest releases, that's a good thing. But if not, let me know and we'll try to address them here.
Does anyone else? Okay, thanks. You might just put in the notes there that we've opened up the new channel for the archive node. I was wondering if you could mention that so people watching the recording and everyone here can get an idea of anything you'd like to say.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, was it yesterday or day before we created a new archive node channel in Discord? And so what I'd really like to do is get the community of users who run the archive node service together. There are a few things that we'd like to discuss with you regarding changes to the database schema, migration of the archive database, and really get your opinion. It's very important for some of the decisions that we need to make. And so please pop into the archive node Discord channel. I'll try to set up a meeting with all you folks in there. And we also need a good sense of how many people are running the service, and it's just very important to involve everybody. So calling that out.
Emery, I see you have your hand up.
Should I get into that archive node channel? Because right now we are not running it. We were running it earlier, but stop it because of the schema changes.
Absolutely, it's an open channel. Anyone's welcome to join the channel.
So it's more about the future plan for the archive node structure.
Yeah, it's about how we can sort of engage with the community of folks who are actively volunteering to run archive nodes, and make sure that the direction that we have in mind for the archive node matches up with what you all are expecting and looking for, and that we're building tools that you will make use of.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, I don't think we have a central place on Discord to talk specifically about archive node related issues. So it's just a good place to have that discussion, because sometimes it happens on QA task force or on mainnet block producers, just in different places. And so hopefully, we can gather all of you guys, even if you're not running an archive node and you want to participate in the discussion, please join in. Your opinion is very valuable. So.
If anyone's looking for the channel, it's you can see it just above the mentor nodes channel in the mainnet section on Discord. So, and I'd like to give a shout out to Steak Tab who suggested the channel. It's a good place for everyone.
We're really losing you, John.
Okay, sorry, my mic trouble today.
No worries. Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I have one more.
Go for it.
Sorry. I decided a while ago to stop running Sidecar, and I've just been running the new uptime service. I'm not. The latest announcement that went out really asked that you're running both. I'm wondering if there's any reason that I would really care about that. I've decided I'll just wait till the new service is in use. Is there a reason that it's helpful to run the old and the new?
So we'll be releasing some information on the new system shortly. Some of the things that post about that are still under review. But basically, Yes, we would recommend you run both.
But I don't care about the delegation program until it's on the new service. Like, I'm not going to bother trying to make
Right,
Sidecar
okay.
keep up. So
Yeah, so
then does it matter?
won't matter. No, it won't matter.
Okay, great.
You are running for a delegation. It's important that you do run both on the same node. In your case, Jonathan, if you're not running for the delegation until the new system, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yeah, in short, the plan is going to take advantage of both until we can have confidence in the data from the new system. So anyone who's trying to participate in the short term should be using both.
Thank you.
I'm leaning over here to my mic so you might be able to hear better. So you're gonna have a look at shine here. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to discuss today? We do have a little bit of time left. I see that Natalia is posted in chat a few questions. Let me just see. Can someone please read Natalia's questions from the chat?
Yeah, Natalia says, a couple weeks ago, I asked what will be the criteria for the foundation delegations for the next cycle. The reply was that there will be discussions and there will be something announced closer to the date. So what is the news there?
So the system now, the current sidecar system will be used to determine the cycle 6 delegations. And like I say, we are preparing a post that is under review with some more information on how that will future. So, but for this cycle, the current one, the snapshot was on the 17th. It will be based on sidecar. I see Jonathan's posted. Natalia, was this more specifically ties? Natalia, were you referring to the ties? Oh, okay. So Natalia says currently there are 261 nodes with 100%. So what we've done in previous cycles for delegations, and what we'll be doing the same, we'll be doing the same this time. And so for anything that's tied, sorry, my internet's not so good either. The tiebreak system will be the same as it was previously. And what that is any ties that cross over the limit of delegations we'll give out, then we'll go back into previous cycles and use scores from that to determine who will be eligible for delegations. So there's no change in the tiebreak method. Does that answer your question? Natalia says, what about discussions? Which discussions, Natalia? I'm not sure which ones you mean.
Feel free to correct me, Natalia, if I'm wrong, but I think Natalia is asking, will we create some space and time for the community to also chime in and talk about it, maybe provide feedback, or where can they go for feedback? Or will we write an announcement about this and share it? Oh, and Natalia is also referring to LAMP's list.
Yeah, so Natalia's comment is, I mean, LAMP's list, and this is referring to a list of community-generated suggestions for the delegation program policy. Yes, and those were mentioned in the blog post, and the ones that will be implemented we'll post and let everyone know when they come into effect. For example, we mentioned the KYC, something that will coming into effect, and there will be other ones. And as we implement those, they'll also be we'll have further information along with those. And thanks a lot for questions. And if anyone else watching the recording after has any questions, you can ask in the program channel. And let's see, we've got a bit of time, but we'll have maybe one more question. And Natalia's asked, Any users were banned from CoinList. What should we do now? So in that case, I'm not quite sure the situation with CoinList is and why people have been banned from there. I don't really know what I can say about that. That's something that's kind of up to them who they do that. Are we automatically kicked from the delegation program? So we do have a post coming out with that shortly. It's supposed to come out today, but just waiting for a couple more people to have a look at it before we post it. It will have specific information on how that will be handled. Well, I hope that answers your questions. And if anyone else has any follow-up to this or any other questions, feel free to ask them in Minute Block Producers channel or for delegation program related channels. You can see that. Well, we are out of time today, and I'd like to say thanks a lot. Thanks to people today. Thank you, Christine. Your note taking was amazing. Great. Well, I'll see you guys next week. You have a good one there. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.